Hey guys, if you're enjoying the content that I'm making, please click that subscribe button. Also remember to click that bell button and make sure to tick that box to send all notifications so you don't miss out on any videos. With that in mind, let's get on with the video. What's up guys, welcome to Monchkinz Gaming, where we take your gaming to the next level. This is Monchkinz logging in to bring you another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video. And welcome to my Should You Pull video guide for the coming level 70 Crystal Awakening Batch 5 banners. Now before we do begin, I would just like to gently remind you guys, if you haven't already, to please subscribe to my channel. Again, we are trying to reach to that 1,200 subscriber by the end of the year, and every single subscriber is going to help. You can also leave a like on this video. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm, so getting this out to the majority of the players, especially newer players who have no idea whether they should pull or not on specific banners. Hopefully this can get to them and help them as well. Now, with the release of the batch 5 of the level 70 Crystal Awakening, we do get 2 specific banners. Now, I really just want to concentrate on one of the banners here, but just so you guys know, there are 2 banners. The first one includes Lilisette, Kuja's EX 15 and 35 CP weapon, and of course Palom's 15 and 35 CP weapon as well. Now, the other banner includes Lena and Zidane's EX weapon alongside with their 15 and 35 CP, and Rydia's 15 and 35 CP. Now, out of these 2 banners, 2 characters will be getting their EX Plus version of their weapon unlocked, and that would be Lilisette and Kuja. So I really want to concentrate more on this specific banner rather than Lena and Zidane, because honestly, Zidane and Lena are pretty old characters now. Lena is still quite useful, so I do suggest, if you don't have like a Brave Battery or anything like that, like a support type character, I suggest you grab Lena. She's actually pretty useful. She was the queen of Brave Battery and support until Charlotta came along. So that's all I have to say for that specific banner, but I want to go into more detail with Lilisette and Kuja's banner by taking a look at their EX and their EX Plus version of their weapons. So without further ado, let's start with Kuja. So with Kuja, you get the chance to get the Turbid Cores, which is his EX weapon. This will give you the EX ability for Symphony. Now, for Symphony is a 5-hit AoE magic brave attack plus an HP attack, which moderately raises the brave damage to a single target. It has 100% HP damage dealt to all enemies and grants a stack of Soul Divider, and also grants the Dark Messenger for 5 turns. Now, while Dark Messenger is active, Soul Divider will remain active despite using the plus versions of his abilities, such as Ring Holy Plus and Ultima 9 Plus. Now, Dark Messenger also raises the party's attack and their speed. This also has a slightly slow recast speed. At 1 out of 3 limit break, it will slightly raise the brave damage dealt by Force Symphony. At 2 out of 3, it will slightly raise the recast speed of the Force Symphony. And at 3 out of 3, it will turn the brave attack into Brave Attack Plus, which is a magic brave attack, which also grants 2 stacks of Soul Divider, and will turn his HP attack into HP Attack Plus, which is a magic brave plus HP attack, which also grants 2 stacks of Soul Divider. Okay, now let's take a look at the EX Plus version, and this obviously will improve the EX ability for Symphony. At 0 out of 3, when using Force Symphony, it will now have a Brave Overflow up to 120%, which is really nice since Kuja doesn't have that with his EX ability. At 1 out of 3 limit break, this will slightly raise the attack and his max brave. At 2 out of 3, it will slightly raise the recast speed of Force Symphony again, and when the quest starts, he will already have the Dark Messenger buff for 5 turns. At 3 out of 3, when using Force Symphony, it will have an increased number of hits to up to 8 and will tremendously raise the total Brave potency as well, and slightly raising the max Brave overflow limit again. Now this will turn your Brave Attack Plus into Brave Attack Plus Plus, which increasing the number of Brave hits to 2 and will slightly raise the total Brave potency, and alongside it you get an HP Attack Plus Plus, which increases the number of Brave hits to 2, again slightly raising the total Brave potency, and the Stolen Brave can overflow up to 120%. You will also get the bonus sphere, which is going to be all range power, with slightly raising the AoE Brave damage dealt by 10%. So after telling you guys all this, what do I think of Kuja's EX Plus? Well, in all honesty, it kind of really looks the same as Ace's EX Plus. For one, he will get the buff at the start, which is a requirement for him, so he doesn't have to keep ramping up his abilities to their plus version. Now you already have Dark Messenger Plus at the start of the fight, which means you just have to build up once and then he should be fine to go. Basically, with this one, it will raise his recast speed with Force Symphony, which will make sure that you will always have the Dark Messenger buff up as much as possible, because you don't really want to lose that buff and then start ramping up your Kuja once again. Now, Kuja does have a nice party little aura that he can give, which raising the attack and the speed of the entire party. If I do have to compare him with anyone else, it really is going to be against Ace. They both have a single target ability and a AoE ability as well, and you know, the only real difference is going to be in their EX weapon, where Kuja has 100% splash damage, but Ace has a 50% splash damage with his EX. Now, obviously, Ace's EX is going to hit more on a single target damage than Kuja, so there is a little bit of niche between the two of them. If you're going for more of a single target boss, then Ace is probably the better choice. If there are multiple bosses, then probably Kuja is the way to go. So in terms of comparing both of them, there's still a little bit of difference. However, overall, they kind of work the same way. They're both magic DPS. They both almost exactly have the same abilities with splash damage and AoE damage, single target damage, and obviously their EXs, as I mentioned before. I can't really compare Kuja to Ultimisia, because Ultimisia is in a league of her own, with her EX granting like extra abilities, no turn counts, and all that crazy shenanigans that, you know, Ultimisia has with her. And it's really unfair to compare Kuja to Ultimisia, so I think the better comparison would be against Ace. And one more thing is, I have to let you guys know that Kuja is getting a rework with this Crystal Awakening. Now, by looking at it, it's not a big rework like most of the other characters. There are some slight increase in Brave potency and a change of some passive buffs. For example, the level 54 Crystal Awakening buff is different. He does get an extra attack up on that now, so there are some things to look forward to when it comes to Kuja. Okay, so now let's take a look at Lilisette's EX weapon, which is a debut weapon for Dissidia Opera Omnia, the global version of the game. Now, this is the, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Terpsichore. It does equip the EX ability Rousing Samba and Dancer's Fury. Now this is subject to change, of course, in the English version of the game, as we are looking into the JP version's translation. Now this is basically it will raise the party's brave based on her max brave and will grant the rousing Samba for 6 turn and triggers the Dancer's Fury, which is a 3-hit melee brave plus HP attack, and the stolen brave can overflow up to 150%. Now the rousing Samba has the following effects. It raises her own max brave, it raises the party's critical hit rate, and raising the party's max brave overflow limit as well. So if you think about it, it kind of acts like the additional ability of Sarah and Kryle. For the most part, I suppose it's like an extra damage, just like Charlotta's EX weapon buff that she gets. So that's like a 20% extra damage. However, with this one, I don't know really what the number is in regards to how much max brave overflow you're gonna get. This has a normal recast speed, and at 1 out of 3 limit break, it will raise the brave damage dealt by Dancer's Fury. At 2 out of 3, it will slightly raise the recast speed of Rousing Samba and Dancer's Fury. And at 3 out of 3, it will slightly raise the max brave and moderately raising her attack as well. Now, if you do decide to EX plus this weapon, it will obviously improve the EX ability of Rousing Samba and Dancer's Fury. At 0 out of 3 limit break, this will slightly raise the max brave overflow limit of Dancer's Fury. At 1 out of 3, it will turn her brave attack to brave attack plus into brave attack plus plus, which increasing the number of brave hits to 2 and slightly raising the total brave potency as well as raising the party's brave based on her max brave. It also turns HP attack plus into HP attack plus plus, which will turn into a 1-hit melee brave plus HP attack, which will restore HP based on the HP damage dealt up to the 10% of the max HP. It will also raise the party's brave based on the HP damage dealt. At 2 out of 3, when the quest starts, she will already have the Rousing Samba buff for 5 turns. At 3 out of 3, when using the Dancer's Fury, it will increase the number of brave hits up to 7 and will raise its brave potency as well, and of course will slightly raise the max brave overflow limit of Dancer's Fury. Now, if you do max this out, you do get a bonus sphere called Debuff Brave Gain All. After inflicting a debuff, it will raise each party member's brave by 5% of their max brave. However, this is only applied once per turn. So after all this, what do I think of Lilisette's EX and her EX Plus and overall as a character? I am kind of biased. I really liked Lilisette when she first came out. I enjoyed the debuffs when, it was the biggest thing. And, we didn't have any frame debuffs or any frame buffs as well. So she was kind of like the end all be all to push all the boss's buffs out. And I really like that about her. Now, there are a couple of things that her EX weapon fixes. The one thing is the DPS department. She doesn't really have a lot of HP attacks. Only her first ability is basically, HP attack. Up until now, her second ability does not trigger an HP attack, and I do believe she doesn't get a rework, so I do believe it will stay just as like a Brave Battery. So the EX Plus solved a little bit of the DPS department. She's not exactly the strongest attacker to begin with, but having that brave gain before she actually does the brave plus HP attack is definitely a welcome addition. Now, the biggest thing obviously is the Samba buff. She was really lacking in the buffs department, but now with this special unique buff, she's able to give the party some critical rate up and some max brave overflow, which I think will really help her out in the chaos department. So while I think the EX weapon fixes some of her problems, especially in the DPS department, which for the most part a lot of characters will need. At least even if you're a tank, you need to be a little bit offensive, especially in the chaos difficulty. I don't know if this is enough. I'm just not convinced that she will be really, really good. She's definitely viable. I'm not saying she's not, but I feel like there's just not quite enough. She may have needed a little bit of rework, maybe triggering an HP attack on her second ability would have been nice, especially because she actually applies a sap debuff on it already, so she will get some brave back if for whatever reason it will be the monster's next turn. So I just feel like she needed a little bit more. Maybe that's just me being biased and wanting her to do much better, but that's just my overall opinion. Okay guys, time for a little news section that someone actually asked me. I'm sorry I forgot your name. I tried to look for you in my comments, but it's so hard to find out where you are. So for someone who was asking for my personal opinion in regards to how much limit break you should do for the EX Plus, well, this is a small section for that. Now, let's start off with Kuja's EX Plus. Obviously, I feel like you can at least get away with a 2 out of 3 limit break here. The main thing here is getting the Dark Messenger buff at the start of the fight. This really helps out with his longevity in terms of you don't have to keep ramping up to get the maximum amount of damage. But of course, if you can 3 out of 3 him, he's definitely gonna help you out. It will add more to his longevity because he does get the Brave Attack plus and his HP Attack plus as well. Not to mention, it will make the EX ability overflow a little bit higher, plus more brave hits as well. Now, as for Lilisette's EX Plus, the minimum limit break I would highly suggest is to actually get to 2 out of 3. You really want that rousing Samba buff at the start of the fight. It'll give you critical rate up for your entire party and max brave overflow for the rest of your party as well. So that really helps. It's hard to justify going 3 out of 3 because all it does is increase the brave hits and increase the max brave overflow. It doesn't really add much, and Lilisette isn't exactly a DPS character anyway, so while it may help in her DPS department, it's not like it's one of her strengths. You know what I mean? Like if you want to balance her out, I say go for it, so she can do a little bit more damage. But if you're really just bringing her as a debuffer, as a brave battery, it's not needed because she does get that a little bit of max brave overflow limit already with 0 out of 3, and she gets her brave attack plus and HP attack plus at 1 out of 3. So I would highly suggest go for 2 out of 3, not necessarily 3 out of 3. Okay guys, so we're really at the end of this video, and I will give you guys my reasons why you should pull this and why you shouldn't. So let's start with why you should pull on this banner. And number one is you actually need a magic DPS / a debuffer, depending on who you need between, you know, Kuja or Lilisette. The next reason why is you probably need more characters to start clearing those dimensions, and you do need quite a few characters in order to clear those fights, and having an extra character here and there is definitely going to help you clear those out. Plus, you can use Kuja as well to try and clear the chaos fight for Deuce's Lost Chapter, so that's really gonna help. Now the next reason would be you're just a big fan of Final Fantasy IX and Final Fantasy XI, and that's no biggie. If they're your favorites, I say go for it. And probably the last one is you want to start clearing some chaos fight. As I mentioned earlier, you can go back to like Deuce's Lost Chapter and you can use Kuja. I highly recommend, you know, if you didn't pull for Ace or you didn't pull for Ultimisia, probably Kuja is a worth number 3 out of them. So I would go Ultimisia, Ace, and then Kuja. Only because I like Ace more than Kuja. that's the only reason why I put Ace above Kuja. No disrespect, I think Kuja is a cool character, and I think he will benefit. You would benefit from having him in your party. Okay, now let's take a look at why you should not pull for this banner. And the first one, you already have Ultimisia and Ace. You don't need another magic DPS, although I still think, you know, having an extra one wouldn't hurt. But if you already have Ultimisia and Ace, plus if you have Kryl as well, you know, you don't exactly need to pull for this one. You can save your gems for someone later on, which is going to be, if you are basically the next reason, if you are waiting for the Agrias banner, which has Faris, which is another debuffer. So if you are waiting for another debuffer, which will feature their own EX as well for the very first time, you know, if you like Faris more than Lilisette, I say just wait for the Agrias banner, especially if you don't have Agrias EX just like me. It's a well worth wait to go for Agrias's banner. Now the final reason why you should not pull for this one is you already have a good debuffer. You already have Fang, you already have Tidus. And yes, I say Tidus, and you know, don't try and correct me. That's the way I want to call his name. It just makes more sense to me. And not to mention, these debuffers actually do more damage than Lilisette. Now, Lilisette is more of a pure debuffer slash support, whereas Fang and Tidus are more DPS slash debuffer. So if you already have these two characters, you probably can skip on this particular banner. Anyway guys, I think that's it for this video. Please remember to click like and subscribe if you haven't already. Like I said earlier, the new goal for the end of the year, before the end of the year, is to reach that 1,200 subscribers. And you know, a lot of you guys that are watching this, 70% of you guys aren't exactly subscribers. So I say if at least like 50% of you subscribe, I think we're gonna make that goal. And of course, leave a like on this video as well if you did enjoy this type of content, and if there's other contents that you do enjoy on my channel, leave a like on this video. It just helps with the YouTube algorithm, just to help out the new players, just as I mentioned earlier. And of course, you can follow me on my social media. I am on Facebook, and I am also on Twitter at Monchkinz Gaming. You can ask me any questions there. I'll try to get back to you as quick as I can. And leave down in the comments below if you're gonna pull for this for these two banners, even though I didn't mention the first banner earlier. Let me know down in the comments below who you're after on this particular banners. And yeah, this is Monchkinz logging off, and I'll see you guys in the next level.